Hey friends, it's Colleen and welcome back to my channel. If you couldn't already tell by my bun and my leotard, I just got back from ballet class, so I figured it would be fitting to do a video today about the intersections of weight, eating disorders, and body image in the ballet world. Before we get into it, I want to preface this by saying that I can only speak to my experiences in the ballet world. I can't say that this is absolute truth and that this is the experience across the board, but I can share my experiences and the experiences of others around me and things that I've learned through connecting with other dancers through social media and things like that. This video is going to be a combo of me talking about my experiences and the things that I've learned throughout my time in the ballet world, as well as answering some questions and addressing some topics that some of you have submitted through my Instagram. So I'm going to start by talking about eating disorders in ballet. To give you a frame of reference as far as some statistics about eating disorders in ballet, 1 in 5 dancers struggles with an eating disorder and 16% of ballet dancers struggle with an eating disorder. I personally struggled with anorexia for many years, and while dance certainly wasn't the only reason why I developed my eating disorder, it was a big contributor to why my eating disorder stayed around for so long and definitely was a contributor to its development. My disordered eating started around when I was 10 years old when I first dieted, and it really became a full-blown eating disorder around when I was 15, which coincidentally is when I started getting very serious about my ballet training. As I started training more seriously in ballet, I noticed that my body was significantly different than those around me, and I didn't see anyone around me who had any body type other than being very thin and the stereotypical ballet body. I felt that in order to fit in, I needed to change my body and I needed to fit this stereotype. Otherwise, I was just going to feel completely out of place, and I didn't think that I could really succeed in the ballet world. At this point, my eating disorder behaviors really escalated, and as these behaviors escalated and my body changed, I received a lot of praise, I received more featured roles, and overall, people just thought it was really great that my body was changing and becoming more of a ballet body, while in reality, I was really doing a lot of damage and was honestly making it harder for me to succeed in ballet and was making my body so much weaker. I was constantly lightheaded in class, and I really wasn't fueling my body and taking care of my body in the way that I needed to in order to be a successful ballet dancer. To speak to some of the deep-seated roots of the thin ideal in the ballet world, George Balanchine, one of the founders of New York City Ballet and the School of American Ballet, once told Gilsey Kirkland that he wanted to see the bones. So as you can see, that really created this idea of the ballerina body and really makes it very difficult for anyone who doesn't fit that ideal and isn't extremely thin to feel like they can fit in the ballet world, that they can train in ballet, that they can possibly become a professional ballet dancer. And it really, struck me, especially as I was growing up as a dancer, especially because New York City Ballet was one of my favorite companies, and I really, really loved George Balanchine's work, that if this is what this, master and renowned mind in the ballet world was seeing as the ideal, how could I be a part of this world if that wasn't what I looked like? It wasn't until I was 19 and I was a sophomore in college for me to realize that I had an eating disorder and that I needed to find recovery. And in my beginning of my recovery, I continued dancing and I really tried to build a healthier relationship with dance. But about a year into my recovery, I realized that I needed to take a break from dance and that I needed to have some separation in order to truly find recovery because the dance world is so disordered. So I ended up taking a step back for about a year to a year and a half and really reevaluated my relationship with dance and reevaluated what ballet meant to me. And I really needed to find a way to regain that love for ballet and that love for dance that I had when I started dancing at 3 years old, where dance honestly had really become a chore and was something I was doing to change my body. It wasn't something I was doing for the love of the art. So I needed that space to really be able to rebuild a relationship with dance and a relationship with ballet that wasn't going to compromise my health, wasn't going to compromise my recovery, and was really rooted in true love versus compensation. I started taking ballet classes again here and there towards the tail end of 2018, and then I really started training seriously again once I moved to Nashville in the end of May, because I found Nashville Ballet and saw that they had really great community adult classes with a high level of training several days a week. And I also found the Dancer Project, which is the company that I dance with currently. And the Dancer Project's whole mission is about creating a space for dancers who have ever felt that they didn't fit in the ballet world, and really creating a space where they can train and perform and have this sense of community in ways that they haven't had otherwise. Between Nashville Ballet and the Dancer Project, I've really been able to rebuild my relationship with ballet and explore ballet in my recovered body, which is far different than the body that I had when I was training in ballet when I was in high school and early in college. Because while I never had the ideal ballerina body, my body was definitely thin, and it definitely was much closer to the ideal than what it currently is. So being able to explore that in a safe place where I'm seeing body diversity and where comments aren't being made about my body, and where I'm not being encouraged to change my body, where my being is being affirmed and my identity as a dancer, regardless of the size or shape of my body, is really something that has been extremely pivotal in being able to maintain my recovery in the ballet world, which is something that I never thought I would have been able to get back to. So now I'm going to shift a bit into some of the questions that some of you submitted through my Instagram. So the first question asked if I could talk about how ballet teaches you not to listen to your body. This is something that I have definitely experienced very much in the ballet world, especially because we're often encouraged to push through injuries and to ignore things that we're feeling because we need to continue dancing and we need to push through and we need to be strong. In reality, when we stop listening to our bodies, we are so much more prone to injury. Our dancing suffers because we are not embodied and we are not experiencing these sensations within ourselves that we need to maintain our technique and our artistry and honestly everything in ballet. And so when we're taught not to listen to our bodies, we really remove ourselves from dancing, and it's all just about our body and not about everything else about us that should encompass ballet, because ballet isn't just a sport. It's not about just moving our bodies. It's about the artistry and about being aware internally of what's going on and how things are feeling, not just how things are looking. So when we're taught to ignore our bodies, it honestly removes the human from the art and just makes us robots in a way. So for me, learning to get in touch with my body and really being aware of the sensations and being really grounded in my body while I'm dancing has made a huge difference, because instead of just focusing on aesthetics, I'm able to focus on how things feel when I'm dancing. So the next question asked was, how should I respond to ballet teachers body shaming students? This is definitely a big problem that I've heard from many dancers and I've experienced myself around how ballet teachers talk about bodies and treat people of differing body types. And this is honestly really dangerous, because as ballet dancers, we really seek the approval of our ballet teachers and we want them to appreciate us and our talents and we want to receive praise from them. So when they respond with body shame, we are often very quick to internalize that and want to change our bodies and feel like we don't belong as we are and that we aren't good enough. And honestly, unless a teacher is correcting for alignment in terms of technique, no one should be commenting on a dancer's body in any way. Obviously, the way you respond to body shaming from a ballet teacher is going to differ based on your age. You know, if you're an adult dancer, it might be easier for you to approach that teacher and say, hey, I really appreciate everything that you're doing for me in my training, but when you talk about my body, especially coming from a shame place, it makes me not want to dance, it makes me feel bad, and however else you're feeling. Whereas for someone who's a teen in training, it might be a lot more difficult for them to broach that subject. And so maybe going to the director of your school or something like that and bringing up your concerns and bringing up how you're feeling and how this teacher is being a detriment to your training. So the next question was, how can you look in the mirror in the dance studio and see an image you truly love? So the next question was, how can you look in the mirror in the dance studio and see an image you truly love? Body image is something that's constantly fluctuating. It's a perception, not a fact, and it exists on a spectrum. There are going to be days where you feel amazing about your body, days where you feel awful about your body, days where you feel in between. And in reality, I think the biggest thing is separating our identity from our body and separating our approval of ourselves and our self-worth from our appearance, which is extremely hard, especially as dancers, because dance is an aesthetic art form and it is about, how positions look and things like that. So it can be really hard to separate our worth from how we look in the mirror in the dance studio. But I think, starting to look at it more as far as how things are feeling and small improvements and not necessarily how your body is appearing in the mirror that day, because ballet is, again, while it is an aesthetic art, is about so much more than how high your leg is or how your stomach looks or how pointed your feet are or how long your lines are and everything like that. It's also about artistry and about bringing your humanity into the art form. So I think while obviously, how lines look and how technique looks and everything like that is an important piece of ballet, that artistry piece and that humanity is just as important. So trying to take yourself out of the mirror, even if that means, maybe at the bar finding a spot that doesn't have a view of the mirror or something like that, might be helpful in being able to remove some of that connection there. Next question was how to deal with comparing your body to others in your ballet class and wishing that you looked like them. This is definitely something I struggle with, honestly, on a daily basis in ballet class, even though I am in spaces where there is a lot of body diversity and people of different body types and sizes and ages and technique levels and everything like that. There are still days where I walk into the ballet studio, I see someone who has a body that, I wish that my body looked like, and I might spend, a chunk of class wishing that my body looked like theirs, which honestly takes away from my training and takes away from my experience and removes the love for dance. So I think, trying to focus on myself and what I'm doing, and if I'm focusing on others, doing it in a way that's constructive, not looking at the size of someone's body. Maybe if I'm looking to improve the height of my leg or improve how long I can balance or something like that, looking at people in a positive light of being like, oh, maybe I'll stand behind this person because I want to be able to do this thing they can do. And it's not that I am coming at myself from a place of shame or a place of comparison, but, looking at it as a way to improve, as far as technique, not about improving your body or changing your body, but, being able to appreciate others and appreciate differences in a way that can help you more constructively approach your ballet training. So the next question is how ballet teachers can create a more body positive environment for their students. I think a really big thing is never commenting on the size or shape of your students' bodies. Anytime you're commenting on bodies, making sure that it's just about alignment, also not saying things like pull in your stomach, being very aware of the language you're using around different body parts and finding also ways that are anatomically correct, because honestly, engaging your core isn't about pulling in your stomach anyway. It's not about flattening your stomach or anything like that. So finding ways to talk about the body and talk about technique that are anatomically correct and that aren't coming from a place of shame. Another important thing is, talking about bodies in a positive light in your dance classrooms. You know, maybe it's doing a body gratitude exercise at the beginning or end of class and having your dancers look in the mirror and say, you know, I'm grateful for my feet that can extend in tendu. I'm grateful for my legs that can extend in développé, something like that. So that, you know, we're talking about bodies in a positive way and we're showing gratitude for our bodies. The next question is, how do you deal with feeling discouraged about finding ballet gear that fits? This is something that has been a huge, huge struggle as I've gotten back into training seriously in ballet. Especially because finding dancewear that fits a plus-sized body can feel more or less impossible. While it's taken some digging, I definitely have found some brands that really work for my body. Again, this doesn't mean they're going to work for all bodies, and these brands certainly aren't nearly as inclusive as they should be, and I acknowledge that I'm coming from a place of privilege in that, you know, many of these brands are fitting me. So definitely take some of this with a grain of salt, and hopefully these brands will continue expanding their size ranges and continue making their dancewear more accessible to people of all different body types. So one dancewear brand that I really am loving lately is called Lucky Leo Dancewear. This leotard is actually one of their leotards. Currently, their leotards only come in extra small to extra large. Their other activewear, they have sports bras and leggings, come up to size 3XL. I will say that I am wearing an XL in this leotard, and it's actually really roomy. And, you know, I often wear a 2XL in most clothing, and I'm between a size 16 and 18. And I find that this leotard is extremely comfortable and has a lot of room and is fairly supportive, especially as someone who has a large chest. Hopefully they will continue expanding their sizes, and you know that they will, especially with their leotards, because while they have their other activewear in more expanded sizes, it would be wonderful for them to expand their leotard sizes so people of larger bodies can also fit into their dancewear and appreciate their beautiful leotards. Another great brand that sent me 2 leotards a few months ago is Jewel Dancewear. It was started by a dancer with Miami City Ballet, and they're also a brand that I luckily can currently fit into, but they also currently only come up to XL, and it's only in certain styles. They definitely fit a lot tighter than my Lucky Leo. This is partially because they are made especially for people with larger busts, so it's a more compression fit. And for me, it works because I like my dancewear to fit really tight, especially so that my chest isn't moving when I'm jumping and things of that sort. So for me, I can deal with it feeling a bit extra tight because it gives me that extra support. But I also acknowledge that, you know, there are many people who are larger than me that wouldn't fit into that size, or people who are my size that wouldn't feel as comfortable with a tighter fit. So I know from speaking with the founder of the brand, they are working to expand their sizes, so hopefully that'll be sooner rather than later, but they're also definitely a brand that I love. An amazing skirt brand that is super inclusive and has the most beautiful while also affordable ballet skirts is a shop on Etsy called Royal Dancewear. I will make sure to put, you know, all these brands in the description for you so you can check them out. But Royal Dancewear makes SAB style skirts, which basically is a ballet skirt that pulls on and it's higher on the sides and longer in the front and back. They will make these to any measurements that you want, so no matter what size you are, you can get a skirt that fits you. Their skirts are pretty much between, like, I think $18 and $20, which is a complete steal, especially for these beautiful handmade skirts. I have a few of them and I really love them, so you definitely should check those out. As far as ballet tights, the only brand that I have really had luck with, and actually these are tights that I used to wear even before recovery, so these are a brand that has many sizes and has worked for me throughout my dance journey, is Body Wrappers. Their tights come up to size 4X and they are very comfortable. The waistband doesn't pinch. they come in convertible and footed and footless and stirrup. So, you know, it works for whatever type of tight you're needing. They come in a variety of colors. They're not the cheapest tights, but they're also not the most expensive. So, you know, these are the tights that I pretty much always wear. I've tried a few other brands, but really haven't had luck with them feeling comfortable or, you know, lasting and not getting runs in them right away. As far as sizing with other leotards, I have found that Werner and Block have very generous fits, especially because they have, in many of their leotards, have a softer, almost like microfiber material, and so I find those materials to be very comfortable and have a lot more give than some more cottony type leotards. So definitely check out Block and Werner. Again, those brands sadly also don't go up very high in sizing, but I do find their sizing to be generous and fit me well and are supportive. So hopefully, again, these brands will continue to expand, but those are two more that I have found have worked for me and my body. So the last question was how to ignore body insecurities while in ballet class. So this answer is a bit similar to the ones that I gave about comparing bodies and also about looking in the mirror and loving the image that you see. For me, a lot of this has been getting out of the mirror and getting into my body. So about focusing on how things feel versus how things look, and, you know, really focusing really intensely on my things that I'm doing versus how things look, and paying attention to applying corrections and things like that, so that I'm not focusing on the appearance of my body in terms of size, and that I am focusing, you know, on how I am executing different movements and things of that sort. So to close out the video, I'm going to talk a bit about weight in ballet. A big thing, sadly, in many ballet schools and in ballet companies is having dancers weigh themselves regularly. This is extremely detrimental, especially because weight has nothing to do with ballet ability or honestly about health, because weight is just one arbitrary number that only gives you one little piece of information. It doesn't tell you anything about the true scope of who someone is. So asking dancers, whether they're students or in a professional company, to do this is extremely damaging. I've also heard many stories of dancers being told they need to lengthen their bodies, which is just code for saying, oh, you need to lose weight and become thinner. I've heard of dancers, you know, losing roles as their bodies have changed. Body changes are something that occur across our lives. You know, we never really stop growing, our bodies never stop changing, so expecting someone to remain the same size throughout their entire life and throughout their entire career really is unrealistic and extremely damaging. So it's really sad that companies will base, you know, casting on a dancer's size or weight. Another really tricky thing is with costuming. Often, you know, a company has one set of costumes or whatever it is, so if a dancer is of a certain size, they might not be able to get a certain role because they won't be able to fit into that costume, and the company isn't going to get another costume made to fit them, which is really sad because, again, someone's weight or size doesn't determine their talent, so the fact that someone's role can be determined on whether they can fit into a particular costume really takes away from the beauty and the love of the art. Another big thing, especially that I see on social media with dancers, is that if a dancer is becoming noticeably thinner or smaller or anything of that nature, that people comment saying, you know, oh, you're looking great, your body is looking awesome, you know, your lines look so much longer, or any kind of BS like that. And making these comments, you know, just based on the changing of someone's body size and shape really just reinforces that ballet body ideal, and that, you know, your worth is defined by how thin your body is. And that couldn't be farther from the truth, because we are all so much more than our bodies, especially as dancers. While dance is an aesthetic art form and it uses our bodies, there's so much more to us, and our weight doesn't define who we are as dancers. So when we start, you know, changing how we comment on someone or changing, you know, the things we say about someone when their body changes, this is really harmful and really takes away from the beauty of the art. And lastly, I want to touch on body diversity in the dance world. So while companies and schools are becoming a bit more accepting to different body types, I think the way this conversation is addressed is a bit skewed. So, an example is Misty Copeland. I absolutely love Misty Copeland. She's a phenomenal dancer. She's absolutely gorgeous and so talented, but people often herald her as a role model of body positivity and body diversity in the dance world. And while her body type definitely is different than the, stereotypical ballet body, she's still extremely thin, very small. And while it is a departure from some of the ideals that have been placed since the beginnings of ballet, it really isn't true body diversity. And I think, we're saying that things are, becoming more diverse in the dance world and whatever. But in reality, these steps are very small, and honestly, more drastic shifts need to be made, and we need to see more true body diversity and people who are, actually in larger bodies being accepted in the dance world, and, moving forward from students to being in companies and being celebrated in advertisements and magazines and things of that sort. Because if we're claiming body diversity as just being a bit more muscular or something like that, and that's totally not to discredit Misty Copeland, she is absolutely phenomenal, and she really has, been groundbreaking in this ballet world and has changed so much. But at the same time, it isn't necessarily what people are making it out to be. So I'm going to end this video here. I hope you all enjoyed it and learned something, and hopefully this conversation around eating disorders and body image and weight in the ballet world was helpful for you, whether you're a dancer or not. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed, I encourage you to do that, and also hit the notifications bell so you don't miss any of my new videos. If you have any questions about anything I addressed in this video or anything you'd like me to expand upon, feel free to let me know in the comments. If you have any suggestions on videos you would like me to make or topics you'd like me to address, you can also leave those in the comments. And as always, you can follow me on Instagram for daily posts and stories at Colleen M. Werner. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all again next time. Bye!